Hi folks, welcome back to the Amazing Education Station. Yeah, it's about the information that's going to benefit you. It's what you need to know. It's not about the video. As I always say, it's information but not going to be interesting to watch. It's just to listen to. The topic today is about how to protect your rental house from damage. So, well, it's related to my other videos on smokers, because what's the number one reason for insurance claims for housing? It's fire. Very much related to smokers catching things on fire, and it's very dangerous now. I also pointed this out. Please like, thumbs up, and subscribe to the channel, because you got to learn the risks. If you burn things, maybe you're a smoker, you would be a lot safer if you didn't smoke indoors and generally moved toward quitting. And there's never a better time than now. If you haven't quit already, it might be a clue that you really need to start now. Like, if you put it off so long, you're going to continue to put it off and just ruin your health and have 10 years off of your life on average. Well, you better change your attitude and realize you have to change from being a smoker that's going to quit to being a quitter that is always working on stopping the smoking habit, and maybe the strongest addiction of any normal addiction that we have, even more than chocolate. And so we need to avoid fire, to avoid damage to properties, houses, and especially rental properties. I know there are a lot of people out there that are curious about this. So, well, besides the other videos, this is video number 6. It's a little bit more advanced. So I talked before about having hardwired smoke detectors in the home, and also you would need the fire extinguishers in the kitchen for sure, but also the other rooms, especially if you have a rental that it's individual rooms that you're renting, not the entire house. Then, because each person would have a lock on their door, so each room may have cooking in it. You know, these days people can cook in their rooms. They're staying away from each other because of the pandemic, and frankly I'm doing that right now too, which I don't know if it's surprising to you, but yeah, I rent a room, although I do also manage a rental property where I rent out the entire house. And so I've run into certain issues here. So, as I said, have a fire extinguisher. Then if they're lucky, they don't have much time once a fire starts. In the old days, you had several minutes, maybe 15 to 20 minutes, to either get out of the room or possibly extinguish it if you had a large enough extinguisher or some method. But these days it could be 3 or 4 minutes maximum before the flames are just absolutely huge and deadly because of the nylon and plastics and oil-based furniture and clothing and so on like that. So that's why having a fire extinguisher is very important. I didn't emphasize that in my other videos. This is more about how to prevent damage to property. The other videos were about how to avoid having smokers in your place, how to discourage, how to evict, and how to prevent smokers even from applying. So you can check out the other videos. People who are not watching these videos and not taking these actions, if they have rental properties, could be taking a big risk. And although I'm not a financial advisor, and so it's not financial advice, but you're taking a financial risk, okay? And one thing that makes people the wealthiest is to have money producing property, or just owning property in general, because it can go up in value. And so it's just a wonderful path to financial security and not always being financially in trouble. Because, you know, if you have, say, your own property and maybe several generations living there and paying for the property, or if it's already paid off, then there you go. So you know, you're not paying somebody else, and you don't have rent to pay, and if it's paid off, you don't have a mortgage to pay. So it's a huge financial benefit that a lot of people don't have. You know, it's sort of part of the way toward financial freedom. So yeah, so that's something to consider, and it's also considered by many. The way to a stable family is the single family home, and it could be because it's easier to get along with neighbors when you don't live in the same building with them and you have children, because children love to play, and you know, they're gonna be noisy and slightly, sometimes maybe destructive. Not all children. Some children are quiet. Some children are not destructive. But in general, at some times, they might play music and play games and cause disruption. So anyway, strongly consider single family housing, and we have to depopulate, reduce the population, and get rid of all these huge high rises where it's not healthy. People don't get exercise, they just take elevators, and the traffic is terrible because of high density. What is that? It's too many people living in a single area, and so it's the number of people per square mile or kilometer is very high. It's a high number, and then gosh, you have all sorts of problems: pollution and crime and lack of natural space. You don't have the grass and trees when you have so many people, and you put them in high rises surrounded by concrete just like this. We have just way too many people. So as we reduce our population density, there's more space for everybody, for plants, for animals, trees, grass, and it will make housing less expensive, and so people won't work so hard, they won't need to work as hard, and life wouldn't be so stressful and such stress on people's health. Like, the modern lifestyle is very hard on people's health. They feel tired and they need more energy, and they're not even maybe doing strenuous labor, but they're tired because they're not doing physical labor. When you're not moving your body, not walking around, if you're just sitting down, it slows down the digestion, but it doesn't slow down your brain and the energy that it needs. So you have reduced energy creation, but you have increased, like when you're working and thinking, increased use of the brain. It's going to make people eat more and more. Yet, as I pointed out, the digestion is slowed down, and so because just sitting there, people eat more, they get hungrier, and then we get obesity and other problems. So that's not good. All right, so now we get back to single family housing and how to protect it. Well, not only do we have the extinguishers and the fire detectors, but we can also have our modern electric safety systems. For example, Ring. You might think that's just a video doorbell, or Nest, something like that. Oh well, they only do maybe the furnace control, the air conditioner control. Well, actually, you should look into it, because they can provide immediate, direct notification if there's any smoke detected. So fire detection, and for a low monthly fee, they will report it automatically to the fire department. So even if somebody's not home and then something happens, there you go. It's going to be really wonderful, and it'll be a great way to protect your property that I really think you ought to consider, because if you haven't managed to properly, as they say, vet or weed out the tenants or the renters in your property, well, you could have risk-taking smokers and even smoking illegal substances in your home, in your rental property. Even you may be sharing a space with them. You have no idea. You don't know what's going on when you go to sleep. They may not be honest. They could be opening the window, running a fan, and have lied to you, or they could also go into the bathroom and do it with the window open. But what are they going to do by mistake? They might drop the cigarette if they're in their bedroom, if it falls on the bed, or something that can catch on fire easily. Oh boy, there you go, you're in trouble. But with the connected fire detection system that calls immediately to the fire station, and then they would probably also give you a phone call when the fire station gets that notification, and so they might wake you up so you can escape the fire. And maybe you could also save your tenant if they haven't already escaped. They could be waiting outside just watching the fire and just waiting to see what happens to you, and see if the entire house is gone before you get out. or just to see if maybe you smell something and like jump out a window, and then they might see you like in the yard, whether you're conscious or not, and all because they lied to you and they were smoking. And like I said, they may have fallen asleep or just forgotten, or they might have been cooking and you might have said like, don't cook with oil, and
you start off with the
fail to supervise, you know. But maybe they did it anyway and a fire started. So be very careful, folks. You got to consider these things. Consider the personality and the experience of the people that you rent to. If you live, say you're renting to students and you live near a university or wherever you live, think about the quality of the school, and is it a difficult school where you would have very intelligent students? Then you may have less trouble. But if it's a school that's sort of a party school, like the largest state universities, where you have a lot of risk taking, a lot of low IQ, and sort of students that might be very friendly and sort of, let's say, go along with the crowd and get into sex, drugs, and rock and roll and smoking. You know, you gotta be more careful and do your best to weed out the weed smokers and all that, if you don't want smoking in your house. As always, it's a free country where you have the freedom, if you want to take the risk and possibly lose the house, lose the rent to a fire, it's your choice. Really, go for it, but just realize it could be also a deadly mistake, and that would be partly your responsibility. So anyway, I encourage everybody to be healthy, stop smoking. And once again, it's not medical, financial, or legal advice, but it's going to benefit you. So please like, thumbs up, and subscribe. And check out the other videos that are really, it's going to benefit your future incredibly. And thank you very much. Take care.